As himself for 5 minutes, and let me first say thanks to all the witnesses. We appreciate you being here, and Mr. Dunn, you and Ms. Janelle, I'm reminded of Romans 8:28 says, "I know the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you and not do you harm, but more importantly, all things work together for good for those who are called according to your purpose." And Ms. Janelle was telling me how y'all are using this to share to young people across the country, and that is a service to our great nation, and we are grateful, and thank you for being here. And with that, Sheriff Daniels, I want to kind of cut away to you here for a little bit. I went to the border, been a couple of times down there, and one of the things that I took away, and we've talked a lot of statistics, a lot of things we've seen, the record 5 million, which is basically my state's entire population of Alabama. We had that many encounters on the border, but the one that kind of struck me the most, and it was what I began to talk about and find out that there was a price that these people were paying to come across the U.S. border. And so will you explain to me exactly who's controlling the U.S. southern border and who's getting paid?
Well, Congressman, it's a simple answer, and that is the criminal transnational organizations called cartels. They control the south of our national border. South of it's all controlled. They control who comes across. There's prices based on who you are. You're a terrorist coming from a different country. I think India was $21,000, for example, but the minimum is like around $7,000 right now. Most of these people don't have it, so when they come across the country, though they might go through a processing, as the Honorable Judge has talked about, but they're servant to the cartels at the end, which is usually for sex trade, gangs, drugs, labor, you name it. I have seen no win-win in this, because we don't have a manageable process right now.
So, Sheriff, one of the things I heard was initially, and of course with inflation in our country, the rate we're spending money, everything's going up. But when I was out there, it was about $4,000 for anybody just south of the U.S. border. And then the triangle countries further south, it was $7,000 to $8,000. We had a price at that time, $20,000 for Syrian refugees. And just recently, I think August Pfluger testified or told us that we had two Chinese nationalists captured on the U.S. southern border, paid $80,000 each to come into our country illegally. And so my question is, what happens to that individual that says, we want to come to America, we want to come to the great land of prosperity, and they don't have the money? Say they cut a $7,000 deal with the Sinaloa camp, whatever you call them, cartel. Say they cut that deal, and they agree to pay $7,000. From there, what happens? Do they come into the country? Do they have to have the money prepaid, or are they indentured servants? I think the term slave I heard earlier today.
It truly is modern-day slavery. The lessons of life and history should be playing out today. These people that don't, they go through processing. There's no doubt about it, but they're well watched by these cartels that are on the U.S. side. When they're released into a family member, a known family member, whoever, the bottom line is they're also receiving by the cartels. We know that, we hear it, we see it. The American dream that you're talking about, Congressman, what we talk about, what people in this room are talking about, in those circumstances, never met, because they're servant to these criminal cartels for bad things.
Sheriff, one scenario I heard, and you may can help me with this too, I heard that if they wanted to cut a deal and didn't necessarily want to be indentured servants and make installment payments, that they could in fact backpack heroin, cocaine, or fentanyl across the border as their payment. Is that the case?
It's all part of the drug labor. They're going to do what the cartels do them. A lot of people make the comment, well, they're here in the United States, they're protected. They also have family in Mexico that they hold hostage, that keeps them doing what they do here. So they had the strings on the family in Mexico. We hear that all the time.
Gotcha. And one other thing I want to touch on real quick. When I was out at Fort Bliss, I went to the Emergency Intake Center, and that was for unaccompanied minors coming to the U.S. And so I decided I didn't take the tour through the facility. I decided to kind of stay outside, Sheriff. I was keeping an eye on things. And I actually started videoing buses with young people being shipped all over the country. And they seized my phone on site. They did not want any record of people being shipped, young unaccompanied minors, to Google addresses in the U.S. And so I asked the Admiral on site, I said, "Sir, can you tell me, where are we shipping these children to?" His response to me, "Well, we're just building the bus as we drive it." They had never seen the kind of influx of youth that we're seeing coming here unaccompanied. They were building the bus as they drive it. And here's the thing, guys, here's the thing. Young unaccompanied minors, we're not doing background checks on who we're shipping them to. So we're shipping these children to Google addresses instead of back home to their country. Who knows what happens to those minors in this country? So with that, the time's coming to an end.